Most people wait for life to force change. I chose change. I left the US at 18 with no real plan or safety net. I just knew I had to get out of there. And of course, I had help. My dad came with me. He paid for the plane tickets and stuff. Really, I just paid for my own stuff, like food and stuff of that nature. And now I'm paying rent for my place, etc. And I also knew I was going to do YouTube and stuff of that nature. So I had like a plan, but it wasn't like foolproof, super thought out plan. I left unprepared. And the reason I left is because the environment was killing who I could become. The state of life back home in Texas, but United States, is undesirable for someone my age. It's impossible to live a life you want at this age when you can't even get a job that can afford housing. You know what I'm saying? You either have to live with your parents or pool with a bunch of friends and like come together to afford some place. You know what I mean? And it's just not optimal. I didn't want to have roommates, and I definitely did not want to live with my mom anymore or just my dad or parents in general. I wanted freedom. And in order to get a high paying job, you either have to do it yourself, be an entrepreneur, make YouTube content, do something of the sort, like create your own source of income, or you had to be highly, highly skilled in some way in order to get a high paying job, or you got to go to college and get all the degrees to like be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever else pays good. Furthermore, my surroundings were terrible. The people, lazy, wasted all their time, smoked weed all day. Like there wasn't, it's not that they were bad people per se. Some of them are kind of bad people. I didn't make the greatest choices with friends back then, but some of them are not great people and some of them are really good people. But just no one around me really had that ambition or drive or anyone I could build alongside with. You know what I mean? And another thing is the dating pool. Dating market in the States sucks ass, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, we're in like hookup culture, feminism, like, you know what I'm saying, kind of era. And that's fine. Some people like to hook up. I don't mind hooking up. I just have high standards, really, really high standards. I don't know anyone with higher standards than me. And it's more like I'm into baddies, you know what I'm saying? But the baddies, like, that's just the key to the door, you know what I'm saying, if I'm attracted to you. And then if you're a baddie, you have to have like a good, like sweet, like kind personality, like, a type of personality that I fuck with. And your vibe and your energy's got to be good, you know what I'm saying? You can't like bring me down in any way, shape, or form. And you can't be unrealistic and just expect like crazy shit. But in the States, I'd say the more attractive a girl is, the more likely she's not what I want. It's just how it is. And it's not that there aren't girls that I want in the States, that fit all my criteria. They're just rare. Culture impacts how you become, right? So in the States, I'm like fishing for a rare fish in a pond, you know what I'm saying? Maybe there's 3 of them in that pond. Like, what are the odds I'm gonna catch that fish instead of all the other fish? And I'm just not into games anymore. I'm just into like finding a cool friends with benefits or a girlfriend or whatever. But I'm not into playing all these games with these girls that fuck a bunch of dudes, or if they get in a relationship with you, they expect way more than they really deserve based off the way they treat you and shit, you know what I'm saying? Cuz like I believe a girl that treats me how, I envision being treated, I'd give them, like a lot. Of course, the more I develop as a man and the more money I make and stability and whatever, that will obviously cause a huge impact on how I can take care of somebody. But I guess my point is the end goal is to take care of my woman and be taken care of by my woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's 2 different ways, like a cycle. Like, I'm not into girls that work and shit and that have money. I could care less because I'm trying to make my own wealth and future. An environment shapes your habits a lot. So I guess since I'm already talking about girls, I'll go into that. So culture, not just for girls, but for guys, you know what I'm saying? Everybody. Culture impacts you tremendously. If I was born in a different country, there might be some characteristics that are the same because I'm a lot like my dad, for example, like just hereditary or genetically, like my brain works very similarly to his. But I'm sure if I was born in another country or under other circumstances, I would be a different person. Maybe I'd share some common traits to me, but like I'm sure I would have different mindsets about a lot of things and I'd live life in different ways, if I was born in different places. So with that being said, here where I am now, people in general are just nicer and women are more sweet. Like the culture is one that produces more sweet, more traditional women that want a husband and want them to take care of them and all that. And of course, they have a lot less privilege here, which I'm sure is a reason why it's still like that as opposed to the States where everything went haywire. But even here with social media access, more and more girls are becoming more westernized in their way they think. Same thing with like Colombia, for example. It's just happening all over the world. But the amount that have that mindset here is far less than in the States. Here, they're more about like family and finding a good husband to support them and etc. And on a more simple level, the environment of Texas or where I lived before, it impacted me in the way of everyone around me smoked. I smoked. I had the liberty of just wasting all my time in my life, and I was fine because obviously I live with my mom and I was a little younger, and you know what I'm saying? My environment allowed me to be that person, that lazy motherfucker. So by leaving, I allowed myself to change my loops and cut them off. I allowed myself to be free of the same life I always knew. And it makes it harder to access drugs. It makes it easier to change because you're not in the same place anymore. It's just like something about being in a place where I do certain things makes me do those things, but when I go to another place, I don't do them. Now, I'm assuming that's like most humans. I'm sure some are exceptions, like for anything, but it makes sense to me that once you switch locations, things in your mind will switch. The way you live life could switch, as long as that's your intent and your goal and that's what you do. And I guess the best point I can make actually is when you change your environment, you put yourself around new people. So, for example, I was stuck in those systems, but I was also around a bunch of people who were also in those systems who just wasted time, smoked weed, chased the next high, didn't do anything valuable with their life, wasn't working towards anything, just cruising through life. And so it made it easy for me to do the same because I'm just hanging out with all these people. I'm just doing what they're doing, right? But when you move, you kind of start depending on yourself and your own decisions because, well, now you don't know anybody. And especially if you're in that self improvement mindset, you're already probably starting to self improve and you want to be better. This allows you to have that clean slate to start really improving on your own and then meet people. And that brings me to my next point. What leaving did for me. For starters, the people around me see me different here than they do in the States, 100%. Because when I came here, I was already a different person. But in the States, people knew me from back when I was younger, or even if they knew me when I was a little older, but I was still like smoking and like wasting my life. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the view they have of you. Same with parents. Like parents see you as like the child version of you, and slowly that grows and grows, but it's not like a quick thing. But when you disappear to a new place, people have no choice but to see you as who you are today because that's who they're meeting. And maybe in 5, 10 years, if you've grown an insane amount, people might not see you for what you really are because they saw you, you know, even if you already, like, if you were down here before and you're up here and you meet new people, but then now you're up here and they might see you like halfway there. You know what I'm saying? Like people's perceptions of you don't just change because you change. But if you change your environment and meet new people, they have no other choice but to see you as that person. And I think that's important because social dynamics can impact life in many different ways. It can impact the way people see you, how you're perceived, etc. Social status, social standings. And on top of that, abroad, you can live for far less. I have like a nice Western style place. I go to the gym. There's a bunch of cool nature stuff to do around here. I have my little motorbike, and my lifestyle's about $1,000 a month. Now, going to the studio, that amplified a fuck ton, but excluding that because that's like not a common like expense anyone would have. You could get away having a nice place here for like and like living a comfortable life and doing cool things for 1,000 to 1,500 a month USD, which is ridiculously cheap compared to like, in the States. For comparison, I believe my mom has a comparable size apartment to this, and she's paying $1,500 a month. So just rent for her is the same as living in the same size place, but food, gym, all the other extra shit you want to do, gas, etc. That's all built into that $1,000 to $1,500. So for the same price as rent, you're living a whole life. You know what I mean? Crazy. So if you're broke but you're driven, save up money, like $10,000, and move to a country of your choice that's budget, that fits the requirements of what you want in life, that has suitable housing, etc., and take the leap. It's worth it. If you're going to be creating your own YouTube or some sort of online business, or you already have an online job of some sort, you really don't need to make that much to live fine. If you make $2,000 a month, you're gonna be chilling. And well, of course, not for every place you go to, but for a good, there's places you can find that you can live like that. And it's not just moving; it's really an investment on yourself and your future and your growth. Thanks for watching. If I resonated with you in any way, shape, or form, I implore you to hit the subscribe button and turn on noties so you never miss a future upload. If you'd like to know me on a more personal level, you should check out my vlog, Joseph Marrone. The link will be in the description. And you better like, or you're going to lose your passport. Yeah, no traveling for you. Actually, I hope you don't lose your passport. That kind of sucks.